Beautiful afternoon to you. Glad to have you join us on Flipside with yours sincerely, Olui J. Oikokai. Happy New Month to each and every one of you. Today on Flipside, we will be looking at World Breastfeeding Week. Yes, it is a long week, as long as 7 days, yes. So the World Breastfeeding Week is an annual celebration which is held every year from the 1st to the 7th of August in more than 120 countries. Now, the theme of this year's World Breastfeeding Week 2023 is Let's Make Breastfeeding Walk and Walk. The week-long event tries to create awareness about the importance of breastfeeding for proper development of the newborn. And to elaborate and discuss and teach us more about breastfeeding, the importance and what the bond is between the mother and the child, we have with us the person of Mrs. Emoho Ochua. She is Assistant Chief Nursing Officer, Public Health Nurse, UBTH. Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon. Thank
and
you.
By her side, we also have Mrs. Efe Iyamo. Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon.
And also Inebechi Mary. I hope I got that right.
Yes.
Inebechi Mary.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming to discuss with us today. All right, first off, we want to know how important is breastfeeding to the mother and the child. So we'll start with Mrs. Efe Iyamo.
Good afternoon, viewers at home. Thank you very much. The World Breastfeeding Day is from the 1st to 7th of every August every year.
Yeah.
And breastfeeding, as we all know, is the best food for the baby. And exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life. And while the baby is 6 months, the baby should also continue with breast milk until the baby is 2 years of age. That is by WHO standard. And breast milk has a lot of benefits both to the mother and to the baby. To the baby is the best nutritional food for the child, and it contains all the necessary nutrients that the child needs to grow for proper growth and development.
Yes.
And also, breast milk will also prevent the baby from the childhood diseases that affect children from 0 to 5 years. And these are some of the benefits to the babies. To the mothers, breast milk is safe, is clean, and it is cheap. That means you cannot go to any market to say you want to go and buy breast milk. No, it is safe, it is free of charge. And also to the mother, breast milk also creates bond between the baby and the mother. That is why the first person the baby recognizes is the mother. Because of that bonding, the baby is always with the mother 24 hours a day, 7 days in a week, as maybe. And also to the mother, we also find out that breast milk serves as a method of family planning. That is exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. Serve as a method of family planning to the mothers. And also, it also prevents breast cancer and ovarian cancer for the mother. So you can see all the benefits both for the baby and for the mothers. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for that elaborate explanation and letting us in on the importance of breastfeeding. Now, looking at the theme and coining our questions from that theme, what are the challenges being faced by working mothers who are breastfeeding their babies? I would like to ask Mrs. Emoho on that.
Thank you for that question. There are a lot of challenges working mothers face in the practice of exclusive breastfeeding. Number one is that in certain workplaces, maternity leaves are not paid. You know, for example, those who work in the private sectors, if the mother has a baby and she wants to breastfeed, you know, the organization tells them that they cannot pay or they cannot pay the salary for beyond 1 month. So this poses as a challenge to the mother, because if she has to earn salary, that means she has to return to work, you know, very shortly after she has had a baby. Okay,
immediately after she has had a baby.
Yes.
So invariably, sorry for cutting you short, invariably you're saying that when a mother, yes, a new just give birth now, she ought to be at home, and still being at home, she needs to be paid her salary.
Yes, that's the proper thing to do, but certain organizations don't do that. So lack of paid maternity leaves for mothers is a challenge, and then also lack of crèche facilities, crèche or daycare facilities within the work environment or very close to the work environment poses a challenge, because if the mother has to practice exclusive breastfeeding, it means that she needs to, you know, have access to a place where she can go breastfeed her baby, and also lack of private rooms in the work area, because it's possible that the mother may have a caregiver who comes with her to work, helps her to take care of the baby, and then when she wants to breastfeed, she's to go there and breastfeed the baby. But if there are no private areas in the workplace, it's a challenge. And then another one is poor attitude towards breastfeeding mothers of employers, colleagues, co-staff. Because in certain situations, once they see a mother coming to work with a baby or taking permission to go breastfeed, the attitude is very poor, and this is a challenge, you know, to the mother, you know, when it comes to breastfeeding. She may begin to wonder if she'll be able to continue or if she should just go for formula feeds, you know. And then other challenges include lack of support both from the employers and the co-staff, but no support. And if the workload for the mother is so much, you know, the mother may not be able to breastfeed. It's a challenge. I actually advocate that nursing mothers should have reduced workload. The workload is so much, it's a challenge. The mother will not be able to leave her desk. For example, for someone working in a bank, if she has to go breastfeed, there has to be somebody there to take her place. In a situation where that is not available, she may not just consider wanting to breastfeed. That organization is not supportive, you know. So these are some of the challenges nursing mothers face when it comes to breastfeeding and work.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I believe Mrs. Eneche Mary has something to say about it. Enebeche, okay. Yes. Enebeche Mary has something to say about that.
Yes, just like my co-presenter has said, there are a lot of challenges mothers are actually facing. But mothers ought to be prepared from antenatal clinic. Their mind should be prepared on breastfeeding even ever before they give birth. You know, like during antenatal clinic, they have to be taught on how to place babies properly. That breastfeeding is a task that you need physical preparation, emotional preparation, as well as mental preparation, so that when they are breastfeeding, they will not have problems. At the end of the day, they have already made up their minds on, okay, this is what I'm going to face. And at workplace, they should be able to discuss with their colleagues freely about breastfeeding, so that they can learn even from those people that have gone through breastfeeding before, like older mothers, and then they will be able to talk to them. Okay, whatever problems they're facing, they will be able to, you know, talk to them and they discuss those challenges. And in workplace, actually, like there are a lot of surveys, like the Nigerian Demographic Health Survey in 2018 actually has shown that 29% compliance is only, you know, seen in Nigeria for breastfeeding among mothers, working mothers. So, and even despite the fact that they even are taught. So that is why we have to actually talk to these mothers on these issues, that they have to prepare themselves, prepare their mind, and their colleagues too will be ready to like help them out, like you know, help them to work in between those hours they're not there.
Okay, in order for them to go
in order
and
for them
attend to
to
their
go
newborn.
and attend to their newborns. And laws too. Actually, there is a law in Nigeria supporting breastfeeding, like the Labor Act in 2009 supports breastfeeding, that a breastfeeding mother should be able to breastfeed her baby at workplace at least 1 hour to 2 hours daily. And maternity leaves of 16 weeks should be given to them. But most of the time, it's discovered that it's not so, because the compliance is not there.
Okay. Okay, and back to Mrs. Ochua.
Yes.
It's a week long, from 1st to 7th. So why would you say, or the importance is being placed on breastfeeding? Why is it as long as 7 days? We know there are other international days just for 1 day, and let's say maybe up to 2 days, but not as long as 7 days. So why this emphasis on breastfeeding? Why do we have 7 days to talk to women, to talk to also fathers? I believe fathers are also involved in all of this.
Yes, the entire family. Thank you very much for that question. This is because breastfeeding is extremely important. You know, it has advantages both to the baby and to the mother and the entire family also. Breastfeeding is very important because right from when the baby is born up until as the baby grows, you know, how the baby started is very important. For example, studies have shown that babies that are exclusively breastfed, they have good mental development. So it's very important. So call that good mental development, because if the mental capacity is not developed at the tender age, it's difficult when the baby has become a teenager or an adult. So it's very important. And also the importance is that it also helps in the prevention of diseases. You know, it reduces morbidity and mortality among babies, which is a big problem in our nation today, even across the entire world. So breastfeeding is very, very important. I'm sure that's the reason for the emphasis. And also, breastfeeding to the baby helps to the baby to bond, you know, with the mother, and helps the mother to also bond with the baby. It has a lot of advantages. It has the right amounts of nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, you know, that is being supplied through breast milk. You discover that all these advantages of breast milk, they are very essential, because once the baby has missed it, that's 0 to 2 years where a mother should breastfeed the baby, it affects the entire person. It affects who that baby grows to become in future. So that is the reason for the emphasis. You know, and this year's theme is talking about breastfeeding and walk. Let's make breastfeeding and walk. You know, because a lot of mothers are not breastfeeding because of walk. They tell you, I'm a working mother, hence I cannot breastfeed. And so this year's campaign is to let mothers know that work is not an excuse for you not to breastfeed your baby. You know, and you know, repetition is the law of long and lasting impression. So the emphasis for 1 week, you know, shows the importance of it. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, to Mrs. Iyamu, there's something in the antenatal clinic. Thank God you're a mother and a professional at your job. Now, they say the first milk is very important, it's vital to the child's health. So I would like you to, you know, educate us more on the importance of that first milk.
Thank you very much. The first milk is called colostrum, and is the best for the baby. Why? Because all the nutrients are in this colostrum. But some of our mothers, because of ignorance, they express out that colostrum, and Some of them will tell you because it is yellowish in color, and they will tell you, no, don't give it to the baby because it's not
dirty
good for the baby, it's not healthy for the baby to drink. But right from our antenatal clinic, we help educate these pregnant mothers to tell them the importance of that colostrum, that it contains the necessary, all the nutrients that will make the baby brains to develop well is inside the colostrum, that it should not be expressed. It should be given to the baby. In fact, immediately the baby is being delivered, the next thing to do is to place the baby on the breast so that baby can get that colostrum so that the brain can develop very well.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, now to Mrs. Mary, we would like to ask, what are some of the tips and strategies for working mothers to successfully balance breastfeeding and their job responsibilities? So what are these tips that you can give out to breastfeeding mothers in order for them to balance breastfeeding, one, and their job responsibility?
Thank you very much. Like I said initially, that breastfeeding is very tasking emotionally and physically. The mothers will need to work on themselves first to ensure that they will be able to balance, you know, between work and breastfeeding. And this is done from antenatal clinics. For example, they have to set expectations and boundaries at work. You know, okay, you're going to work and you're going to breastfeed your baby at work and you're going to have your job to do. So what you do is that first of all, organize yourself, breastfeed your baby at home, ensure that you first of all breastfeed your baby at home. Then you make good use of your break time. Ensure that your break time, you go there, breastfeed your baby and all that. Then you establish a feeding schedule. Ensure the baby is being breastfed. Okay, like I said it earlier. Then try as much as possible to eat and take fluid, because when you take fluid, it helps you to lactate more. Because find this is at that about a breast milk contain about 70% of fluid. So you need fluid actually to boost your breastfeeding. Then at the same time, a breast pump is encouraged. You know, in between those time you'll be breastfeeding the baby, you can, you know, have a breast pump your breast and keep in the refrigerator. And that goes to why there should be an enabling environment in the workplace for mothers that are breastfeeding.
All right, Mrs. Iyamu, back to you. Some tips you feel breastfeeding mothers can actually learn from in order for them to be able to balance their breastfeeding their newborns and also balance the fact that they need to work. Because if they don't work, they don't have where to actually get, you know, food on the table for themselves and the family. So how can these two things be balanced? Can it be balanced? That's the first question I should ask you.
Thank you very much. It can be balanced.
Okay.
If the mother planned her time very well. Just like my colleague have rightly said that. It involves both physical, emotional, you know, psychologically as may be. So what the mother is supposed to do is to plan herself for this breastfeeding period. Right from pregnancy till when the baby comes out. And now that she wants to resume her normal work, she should have it at the back of her mind that she needs to go to work very early. Even before she goes to work, she should get up very early in the morning to express some in the cup, you know, preserve it, then breastfeed her baby before she goes to work. When she gets to work, then she can drop her baby in the crèche. Then the breast milk she expressed, she can also give it to the caretaker, you know, to feed the baby from that cup. All these are proper planning. Then for the break time, for her to go and breastfeed her baby, she should not use that time for any other thing. That time should be used usually for breastfeeding her baby alone. These are some of the tips that can help the mother.
Okay, before I ask Mrs. Ochoa, now the question that she said something, she said drop her things in the crèche. Now for organizations that don't have a space, a room crèche, like you said, where should the breastfeeding mother drop her things? How does she go about her day-to-day activities in the office and also breastfeed her newborn?
No, she can make use of, can try to locate a crèche facility. If there's none within that organization,
Right.
she should try and locate the nearest one close to her place of work, you know, for easy accessibility of, you know, to breastfeed. Because if the crèche facility is just within a walking distance from our office, I think it's a good thing for her to be able to breastfeed. You know, and also if there's a crèche facility within the work environment, she should make use of it. A lot of these crèche facilities within the work area are affordable, you know, so mothers are encouraged to use them.
Okay. Okay, now apart from the tips two mothers have talked about, is there any other tip you feel a nursing mother should know out there as regards work and breastfeeding?
Yes, when it comes to breastfeeding, there's a lot to say. There's a lot. Mothers need to be taught, you know, about breastfeeding right from the time of conception through antenatal period, postnatal period, when they come for immunization. There should be this health education of mothers, because ignorance is the reason why a lot of mothers do not breastfeed. So right from antenatal, mothers should be health educated. And a lot of mothers also do not breastfeed because they claim that breastfeed is not enough for their babies. Some claim that they have, some actually do have sore nipples because and it becomes a discouraging factor for them why they stop breastfeeding or why they don't practice exclusive breastfeeding. And these things result from poor technique of breastfeeding. There's a technique for breastfeeding, and if you want to breastfeed your baby, you know, you have to be in the right positioning, you know, sit uprightly, or if you want to lay on the bed, there's a technique for the breastfeeding. And the major thing there is that mothers should know that it is very important that the baby suckles on one breast for close to 30 to 40 minutes, because we tell them that breast milk contains water. Do not give water. A lot of women are breastfeeding and they are giving water, and this is a reason why some babies who are being exclusively breastfed are not growing well, because breast milk contains about 70% of water. So if you are breastfeeding, you do not give water. No, because breast milk already contains water, and the way God designed it in the breast, the water comes first. You know, if you're breastfeeding from a full breast, the water comes first. For the first 10 minutes, that water is flowing. If you want to confirm it, when your breast is full, as a lactating mother, try expressing the breast into a transparent cup. You see that it's very light. You know, that's the water. That's why we say don't give water. And then from beyond 10 minutes, discover that the milk becomes white, you know, is thicker. That's the milk that contains the carbohydrates, the protein, all the nutrients we are talking about, antibodies and everything. So for a mother who does not have the right technique of breastfeeding and decides to breastfeed for 10 minutes on the left breast, for instance, and 10 minutes on the right breast, discover that that baby may not be growing well, because what that baby has essentially taken is water. So if you are feeding from a full breast, let the baby stay on one breast for close to 40 minutes. The baby will empty that breast before you switch over to the other breast. So, and then to prevent sore nipples also, which is a major challenge why some women, you know, are discouraged when it comes to breastfeeding. The reason is because of poor attachment of the baby to the breast. So mothers should be taught how to attach their baby properly to the breast. And the technique is that the baby should not suck at the nipple. The nipple is only a passageway for the milk. You know, the milk actually comes from the darkened area around the nipple, which we call the areola. So when you're putting baby to breast, you put the baby's mouth, you know, to cover the nipple and go beyond the nipple to press on the areola. Once the baby's gum presses on the areola, you see that milk begins to flow into the baby's mouth, and then there will be no sore nipple. You know, and then mothers should alternate the breast during feeding, because if you're using one breast to feed all the time, the other breast might become engorged, become hard and painful. You know, this is also one of the challenges with breastfeeding, why mothers do not breastfeed. And so babies who are breastfed, there are so many advantages, and I encourage all mothers out there to breastfeed their babies. It's the best. It's the best for the baby.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you talked about some parents or some breastfeeding mothers not knowing or saying that the breast milk is not enough.
Yeah.
Now, to Mrs. Iyamuru, how can a breastfeeding mother know that my child has taken enough and it's okay for that child? Because so many women out there, they don't know. They will tell you, oh, my child is not well fed, the breast milk is not enough. So how can a breastfeeding mother know when the breast milk is enough for the child?
Thank you very much for that question. For a nursing mother to know that the breast milk is enough and the baby is satisfied with breast milk, when, just like she has rightly said, that you have to attach the mouth of the baby properly to the breast. And you as a mother, you must make yourself comfortable, sitting upright, by ensuring that the mouth of the baby is attached, is properly fixed to the breast. And once you do that, then your hands must be behind the baby, down to the buttocks of the baby. Then the tummy of the baby should, you know, be opposite directly to your own tummy. Then you are comfortable, your baby is comfortable. And you can now see that when the mouth of the baby is properly fixed to the breast, you can see that the baby is relaxed, is comfortable, and baby is sucking very well. And once baby starts sucking, you will see that the baby will not remove his or her mouth from the breast. You start gradually at first. Before you know it, you know, baby start gulping the breast milk. Then before you know it, at time you see baby, you know, using his or her fingers, you know, to touch his head. That means baby is enjoying the breast milk. And when you now see that the baby is satisfied, baby on his own, on her own, we remove the mouth from the breast. Even when you now try to continue the breastfeeding, baby will tell you, mommy, I'm satisfied.
Okay. I'm okay.
And you know that, yes, baby is okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm still talking about World Breastfeeding Day. Remember, it is from the 1st to the 7th of August. We'll be right back after this short break. Don't go nowhere. All right, thank you so much for rejoining us on Flipside, and we are looking and talking about World Breastfeeding Day. It is an important moment, an important day for all women out there, including fathers also. Mrs. Iyamuru, yes, I would like to ask you, what is the role of the father to the breastfeeding mother? Why are you smiling like that? do they have any role to play as regards the breastfeeding?
They have a lot of role to play as a father to support their wife. You know, I said earlier on that this woman needs psychological, emotional support. You as a father, right from conception of that child, you have to support your wife physically, emotionally, and psychologically. And you as a father, when the woman is breastfeeding her child, if you are around, you should support your wife, you know, by greeting your wife. Then when the baby is asleep, you can help to carry the baby to say, or my wife, you can say, go and relax a little bit. Let me help you to take care of the home, because at that time, most times at night, baby does not sleep. And during the day, that is when you see them sleeping. So we also encourage father to assist their wife while the baby is sleeping. At least they should encourage their wife to also have some rest, because without proper rest, there's no way the breast can also lactate when a woman is stressed up. So you as a mother, you have to support the woman. Financially also, you have to also support for the woman to eat a good food, you know, for the breast to lactate very well. You as a man, you have to provide us the money.
Okay.
Yes. You have to provide us the money.
That's correct.
So that we can eat adequate diets
Yes.
and for the baby to also get it from the breast.
Okay. Mrs. Ochoa talked about sore on the nipple. To Mrs. Mary now, how can this be solved? How can the sore on the nipple get healed?
Thank you very much. The emphasis has actually been from the, antenatal clinic. When the mothers are being taught on proper care of the nipple and how to latch their baby, that is how to place their baby on the breast
for proper latching.
Yes, for proper latching. Then the cracking nipples will not even occur in the first place. But if it occurs, the way it can be treated, like, okay, from the antenatal clinic, mothers are taught on exercising the nipple. It's just like, for example, you're exercising your arm, doing a lot of exercise, the muscle is growing and all. So also you can exercise your nipple. Like take a Vaseline, you rub it, or when you're bathing, you can take soap in between your thumb and the forefinger. You just like pull it out, exercise, and it helps to elongate the nipple by so doing. So by the time you're now breastfeeding, then what happens is, during the stage of breastfeeding, if the mother places the baby on the nipple rightly, that won't happen. But if it happens, all you need to do is that you encourage the mother to like breastfeed babies at intervals of, you breastfeed there, you turn to the other one, then you keep treating the breast, apply some emollients like the Vaseline, and fix baby properly, and probably take some vitamin C, eat well, that will aid the healing.
The healing, because I know it's very, very painful.
Yeah, it could be painful, but really there is nothing the mother can actually do. It's just to encourage her and, to tell her that the baby should not suck on, the nipple. Should not suck on the nipple, but should use the mouth, the lips, to cover the black area, which we call areola, very well and properly.
Okay. All right. So, is there any legal rights to Mrs. Ochoa now? Is there any legal rights backing breastfeeding mothers as regards workplace?
Yes.
Or protection?
Yes, there are legal protections. Like the Labor Act, which my colleague mentioned earlier, says that breastfeeding mothers should be given 1 hour to breastfeed their baby while they are at work, and they should also not be exempted from the normal allocated 1 hour break. This means that breastfeeding mothers are to be given 2 hours break to allow them breastfeed their babies. So it's now at the discretion of the breastfeeding mother to break it. She can decide to take it 30 minutes to breastfeed, and then after some hours she can go again to breastfeed the baby another 30 minutes. So she's entitled to time to breastfeed her baby. And then it's a punishable offense for employers who do not concede to this, who do not grant this break to nursing mothers. Is punishable by law.
Okay. Thank you very much. To Mrs. Iyamu, what is the proper time for a mother to stay off work and prepare for the newborn, the birth of the child? And after the birth of the child, how long should the nursing mother stay at home before resuming work? And while being at work, how long should the nursing mother be at work? So it's 3 questions. First, before childbirth. Second, when the child has been born, being at home, how long should the child and the mother be at home before resumption of work? And when the mother resumes, how long, what should be the working hours expected of the nursing mother?
Before the childbirth, the mother should stay away from work as from 36 weeks of gestation.
36.
She stay at home. Then after delivery, she should continue with her maternity leave, which is 14 weeks.
Okay.
Which is 14 weeks. Then at work, when she resumes at work, she should work nothing less than 6 hours.
Okay.
Normally, for every other person, it's 8 hours. But for a nursing mother, 6 hours. 1 hour break for the breastfeeding and another 1 hour break, usual 1 hour break for every other person. She should have that 2 hours.
Okay. For those persons that they don't know what 14 weeks is, can you maybe break it down to
3 months.
months?
3 months maternity leave.
Okay, 3 months maternity leave.
Yes.
And when the breastfeeding mother resumes 6 hours.
6 hours work. That is 6 working hours.
Okay.
For a day, then 2 hours break.
So how long should this be? How many months should this be?
Until when baby is 1 year. Until when baby is 1 year old.
Okay.
At least this should continue. Then from 1 year, the mother can now resume at normal 8 hours work.
Okay. All right. So, Mrs. Mary, how can there be a relationship between the nursing mother and her co-workers?
At times, you could have, the nursing mothers could have co-workers that may not cooperate with her. So she has to actually be friendly with them. That is why I said she has initially that she has to open up whatever difficulties she's facing, you know, discuss with mothers in the working area so that they deliberate and discuss together. She will be advised on the proper thing to do. And they should actually help her to take her place in work. But if there is any discrimination against this, they should report. If there is discrimination against breastfeeding, the law says report. Because they must be allowed to breastfeed their babies. Because when babies are breastfed, when healthy babies will turn out to be, produce a healthy nation.
Okay.
So it's very important.
All right.
That they breastfeed.
Okay. So, Mrs. Ochua, this question is for you now. Are there success stories or examples of organizations or companies that have implemented effective breastfeeding support programs for their employees?
Yes, there are. There are organizations who are in compliance with breastfeeding and work. And examples are the World Health Organization, the UNICEF, and I know of Nestle Nigeria PLC also, who will support their nursing mothers, very well to breastfeed their baby. They give them private rooms. They are allocated break periods. There's full support for nursing mothers in these organizations, and there are so many other organizations who provide support for their nursing mothers. Although we are hoping that more organizations will, get this thing we are talking about, making nursing mothers comfortable at the workplace, providing an enabling environment for working mothers who are nursing mothers to be able to marry both work and nursing their babies. So there are success stories, and we'll pray that there will be more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Iyamo, are there cases where breastfeeding mothers are told, or some breastfeeding mothers are told not to breastfeed their children?
Yes, there are cases. Some of the cases are the loss of the mother during childbirth. Since the mother is no longer there, so there's no way that baby can be breastfed. Then,
so how can that, before you talk about the other parts, how can that child be taken care of?
Such child will now have to recommend, the pediatricians now have to recommend the right formula for such a child in order for the child to grow. Then we also have cases where as a result of illnesses whereby the mother is having breast cancer or she has had breast surgery. such mother cannot breastfeed their baby. I think these are some mothers also that are on drugs like cocaine, cocaine, heroines. So we will not encourage such mother to breastfeed their baby because such drugs will be accumulated in the breast, and if baby suck from the breast, it can also affect the
child.
health of the child.
Okay. All right. So to Ms. Joshua. Yeah.
Yes, and also some mothers on chemotherapy too. They are not allowed to breastfeed because those drugs are secreted in the breast milk and is harmful to the baby. You know, chemotherapy is the drugs for cancer. Then some mothers who are, you know, terminally ill. For example, a mother who is hospitalized and for disease like cancer and is at that end stage, they are very weak and they are unable to breastfeed. And also for babies with a disease condition we call G6PD or galactosemia. In this condition, the baby is not able to digest breast milk. So babies with that condition are not given breast milk because they don't benefit from it. It's harmful to them. You know, apart from these reasons, all other cases, babies should be exclusively breastfed. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Mrs. Mary, now we find some others saying when they breastfeed, they're young, their breast sags, and sometimes they start getting fat. So can this or can it be a problem to the mother?
No, it can't be a problem. It's just a myth. It's a kind of belief that all the while people have been carrying that when you breastfeed, your breast sag. Ordinarily, the breast will originally sag, even if you didn't breastfeed. And even when you breast, it all depends on, it has to do with nature. There are some mothers that even after breastfeeding, maybe with proper care, the breast will still, you know, when they wear bra and all that, it will still be well supported. But by and large, the breast will sag. Age will definitely come. So is it not better that that breast is used properly for the child? Because it will definitely sag. Then when you talk about addition of weight, it doesn't contribute to weight addition. Rather, it loses weight because when a mother is breastfeeding, there's a whole lot of calories this mother is burning. So as the mother is burning the calories, the mother is losing weight. So it does not in any way add to weight addition, especially when this woman is breastfeeding properly, that is latching well, and the baby is taking enough, and exclusively breastfeeding this baby, like every other 2 hours, breastfeeding on demand, the woman will not add weight.
Okay. All right, so Mrs. Ochoa, do you go by that, or you go by the saying that when the breastfeeding mother breastfeeds the child, the breast sags, and the breastfeeding mother tends to, you know, go fatter by the day?
It's a misconception. I totally agree with what my colleague has. So breastfeeding does not cause the breast to sag. It does not, and it actually helps nursing mothers to, you know, reduce their weight, not add weight, because they burn a lot of calories, like she said, during breastfeeding. So those are misconceptions.
All right. So earlier on, when Mrs. Iyam was talking about the importance of breastfeeding, she did talk about breastfeeding serving as a contraceptive, for women not to get pregnant. Is this 100% true?
Yeah.
It's 100% true, but it does not work for all women. For some women, not for all women. Especially for those that did exclusive breastfeeding. When we say exclusive, that means without formula, without water. So breast milk alone. I'm a practical example. I use exclusive breastfeeding as a method of family planning when I was giving birth to my children. And it's when I stopped, that is when pregnancy will come.
So Ms. Ochoa, are you saying that every mother out there that breastfeeds their child without giving water, without giving formula, that mother is sure to have the time of her life without having to, you know, from nowhere get pregnant.
No, that's not absolutely correct, because this using breastfeeding as a family planning method, we call it lactational amenorrhea, and it's usually for 6 months, because exclusive breastfeeding is for 6 months, the first 6 months of life. And when we say exclusive, no water, no formula feeds, no other thing, no bomoro, no gripe water, just breast milk. And it's not for all mothers. It's not 100% for all mothers. There are some mothers who are practicing exclusive breastfeeding. They're not giving any other thing, and
in the next 2 months
pregnant. So it's not all mothers. It's not all mothers, just for a few mothers. If it works for some and it doesn't work for others.
Okay, now Mrs. Mary, you find some other person saying they want to breastfeed their child, but the milk is not coming out. The outflow that they expect, it's not giving them what they want for the child to be able to, you know, satisfactorily feed well and get satisfied. Now, what should such a mother do? Because I know many mothers out there, they want to breastfeed their children, but they are finding it difficult to have enough milk for their children to be able to latch on. So what would that mother do?
Oh, well, such mothers, if they actually went through antenatal cleaning, they will be taught, because when you breastfeed, there is a kind of let down flow. There is a way the breast, the sensory nerves on the breast, on the nipple, sends message to the brain, and the brain now, there is a kind of, it's a feedback mechanism. The brain will now send a message back, and there will be more flow. So the more the breastfeeding, the more the milk flows.
So are you saying you're telling mothers out there, just continuously feed your child, continuously give that breast to your child?
Yes, when they rest, because when you rest, there is a way your brain and the hormones will reset themselves to work again. Then the hormones controls all this. So when they rest properly, they eat rightly, they take enough fluid, and you know the right mindset is there. Then they will be able to produce enough milk to feed their babies. But in cases when this is, you know, when it persists, it's advisable they will see they should visit their doctors. Yes. Who will now probably look into why this case is persisting. But most often, I think ignorance is actually the cause, because most mothers don't feed properly. They don't latch properly. They don't actually use you have to relax. Like my colleague said earlier, on one breast, you need to feed the baby up to about 40 minutes. How many mothers does that? When you finish feeding, you have to keep the baby burp very well. Then, if the baby, you sense that this baby is not still satisfied, you turn to the other breast and keep feeding until the breasts are both emptied. So that is how it goes. But most mothers today, I don't think, most mothers don't have time for that. So if they will actually sit down, because the more you breastfeed, the more this blood flow. The more it sends the message, and the more the feedback mechanism, and the more it flows. So that is how it works.
All right, so to Mrs. Iyamu, so what would you tell a mother out there that is having this difficulty, just complaining to herself, telling everyone that cares to know, I'm not able to breastfeed my child well? So what advice will you give to that mother?
My advice to such mothers is that they should continue breastfeeding. And also, they should see their health practitioners that will further advise them on what to do. And just like I have a song that I always sing for my nursing mothers, that breastfeed your baby. Give your baby breast. Give your baby breast anytime, any day, anywhere. Give your baby
breast.
Now, talking about that anytime, any day, anywhere, in public places, especially in the bus, you find a child crying and the mother is hesitating like, what do I want to do? And you just find a man somewhere, madam. Okay, to Mrs. Ochua, yes, breastfeeding. It's a 7 days, long moment for us to be able to deliberate on issues on breastfeeding. Before we go, what are your advice to mothers out there?
My advice to mothers out there is that they should be determined to breastfeed their babies.
Okay.
And preparation should begin during pregnancy. In fact, before you get pregnant, determine in your heart that my baby, I will breastfeed. During pregnancy, begin the psychological preparation. Even physical preparation, especially if you work. Where will I keep the baby? How am I going to organize work and, you know, breastfeeding together? Determine in your heart that you practice exclusive breastfeeding. And no barrier, there's no mountain too high that you cannot climb when it comes to breastfeeding. You know, so don't look for any kind of excuse. If you're having challenges when it comes to breastfeeding, see your healthcare provider and you will be counseled. Most times, counseling solves the issue. So determine in your heart that you will breastfeed because it's beneficial to both the mother and the baby and the entire family, like we have been saying all this while.
All right. So quickly now, Mrs. Iyamu, your advice to mothers out there. And
advice,
also fathers.
Yes, my advice to the father is that they should please support us when we are breastfeeding our baby. Physically, financially, psychologically, morally, emotionally, and otherwise.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Iyamu. And to Mrs. Mary, your advice to organizations out there.
To the organizations, support your breastfeeding, support the breastfeeding mothers, because when they support the breastfeeding mothers, there will be more output, because these mothers will be happy and there will be healthy nation too. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Mary, Mrs. Iyamu, and Mrs. Ultra, for taking out your time to educate us as far as Breastfeeding Week is concerned. To all mothers out there, make good use of your breast. Yes, that's what I will tell you today. Make good use of it and make sure that your children are healthy as possible. I will see you again next week for another exciting time. Do have yourself a blessed day. Bye for now.